Welcome to the Senior Techie Podcast. So picture this. You are standing in the middle of a living room, right? And you are holding this perfectly wrapped box.
Oh, yeah, the classic scenario.
Right. You've spent like weeks picking it out.
Yeah.
But the absolute second the 80-year-old man sitting in front of you, maybe it's your dad or your partner or just an older friend you've been quietly worrying about, he just crosses his arms.
Yep, and you already know it's coming.
Exactly. He looks at you and says, I don't need anything. And suddenly, boom, you realize you have hit an absolute brick wall. It's a very specific, universal struggle, you know?
It really is. It leaves you feeling completely paralyzed.
Because you want to help. You want to show you care, but you are just completely stuck now.
Yeah, well, because it's a profound defense mechanism. You know that if you force the issue or if you buy the wrong thing, it's just going to sit in the box out in the garage gathering dust for years.
100%.
You're trying to solve a physical problem, but you're actually running headfirst into this massive psychological barrier.
And that is exactly where I want to start unpacking this material today. Because honestly, the research we're looking at completely changed my perspective on that barrier.
In what way?
Well, when an older man crosses his arms and says, I don't need anything, I always just assumed he was being stubborn. Or like, maybe he genuinely thought his house was full enough.
Right. The inventory excuse.
Exactly. But the sources suggest we are entirely misinterpreting him. It is not about inventory at all. It is about boundaries.
It is. And it's a three-part boundary, to be specific.
Okay, lay that out for us.
So first, what he's really saying is, do not give me clutter. I mean, a person who has spent 8 decades on Earth has spent a whole lifetime accumulating and managing objects.
Right. They're done dealing with stuff.
Exactly. They do not want the cognitive burden of managing more stuff. Second, he's saying, do not give me something that makes me feel incompetent.
Oh, that's a big one.
Huge. If it requires a manual thicker than a phone book, it's a direct threat to his sense of capability. And third, and this is probably the most crucial one, he's saying, do not rub my age in my face.
Wow. Yeah.
He doesn't want anything that screams patient, or implies that he's frail.
So wait, we have been treating this like a shopping problem when really it's actually a dignity problem.
That is exactly what it is, a dignity problem.
Okay, so our mission in this conversation isn't to just find a cool gadget. It is to find stealthy tools that completely bypass that stubbornness.
Yes. The stealth aspect is everything.
Right. So we need to find things that secretly deliver on 3 key pillars: comfort, safety, and simple joy. And they have to do it without ever looking like medical supplies.
That's the golden rule here.
And just a quick housekeeping note for you listening. As we go through these solutions, you can refer back to the matchingtheseniortechie.com article.
Yeah, that's super helpful.
Right, because we will be talking about several specific items, and you can find direct links to the exact products right there. That way you don't have to take frantic notes while you're driving or making dinner.
Exactly. So looking at that first pillar, comfort, this is where that dignity problem is probably the most visible.
How so?
Well, older men will frequently deny their physical discomforts. I mean, admitting to stiff joints or feeling cold all the time, it feels like an admission of defeat to the aging process.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So you have to bypass that stubbornness through stealth, like you said.
I really want to dig into the psychology of that denial, specifically the thermostat battle.
Oh, the classic thermostat war.
Right. Why will a man park himself in his favorite chair and he's visibly shivering, but he will absolutely refuse to touch the dial on the wall?
It's fascinating, isn't it?
It is. Why not just put on a sweater or turn up the heat? It's like watching a captain refusing to leave a sinking ship. Even when the water is up to his knees, he just sits there claiming everything is totally fine.
That captain analogy is incredibly apt. But let's look at the underlying mechanics of what is actually happening there.
Please do.
For decades, that man was likely the provider, right? The protector. He was the one who literally controlled the climate of the household.
Oh, right. Don't touch the thermostat. I pay the bills.
Exactly. But as we age, our metabolism slows down. Our skin thins out, which means we lose body heat faster.
Okay.
So adjusting the thermostat, just because he is suddenly running colder than everyone else in the house, it's like a public broadcast that his body is failing to regulate itself.
Oh, wow. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, it's a loss of environmental control. So touching that dial feels like a surrender.
So if you go out and buy him a medical-looking electric heating pad, you are basically handing him a white flag.
Yes, you are forcing him to acknowledge the decline.
So what's the workaround?
You don't fight him on the thermostat.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely do not buy medical gear. You bring the warmth directly to him, but invisibly.
Okay, I like the sound of that. What's the specific recommendation here?
The sources suggest the Buterus zuri oversized heated faux fur throw.
A faux fur throw.
Yeah. It's 50 by 70 inches, and it just looks like a premium, stylish living room blanket.
Nice.
But it has these hidden automatic shut-off heating elements inside. So it provides constant, even warmth that looks sophisticated, and most importantly, his pride remains entirely intact.
Because it just looks like a nice piece of home decor.
Exactly.
That concept of stealth, I noticed it applies to his furniture, too. I read the section about the favorite chair.
Oh, yes. The chair?
You know, the one with the permanent indentations that is practically falling apart.
Everyone knows that chair.
My instinct has always been to just buy a new ergonomic chair, but the research strongly warns against doing that.
Oh, you will never win the battle to replace the favorite chair.
Why not?
Because it's mapped perfectly to his body's history.
Hmm.
Throwing it out feels like you're erasing his designated space in the home.
That makes total sense. But those worn-out cushions have to be terrible for his posture, right?
They're awful. They offer his neuropelvic support, which aggressively aggravates lower back and hip pain.
So, since we can't replace it, we upgrade it.
Precisely.
The solution mentioned is the everlasting Comfort gel-infused memory foam cushion.
Yeah, that's a great one.
It's this thick U-shaped cushion designed to relieve pressure on the tailbone. And what I love is that because it's the exact same kind of ergonomic cushion people use in high-end corporate offices or like gaming chairs, it carries zero stigma.
Right. It doesn't look like an orthopedic donut.
Exactly. It just makes his existing throne significantly kinder to his joints.
And we really have to consider what happens when he gets out of that chair, too.
Okay, the mobility factor.
Right. Many older guys walk around the house in just their socks because, honestly, bending over to tie shoes is too much friction.
Sure.
But if you look at the mechanics of a fall, socks on slick hardwood floors, paired with a natural decline in inner ear balance, that is a catastrophic combination.
Because the friction coefficient is practically zero. But again, you can't just hand him those yellow hospital grip socks. He will flat out refuse to wear them.
Right. Which brings us to the stealth solution. The Silvert's men's extra wide, non-slip slippers.
Tell me about those.
They are engineered specifically for senior fall prevention. They feature extra wide openings to accommodate swollen feet and adjustable closures so he doesn't have to struggle. Plus, heavy-duty, non-skid rubber soles.
But to him, they just look like classic, comfortable house slippers.
Exactly. Stealth safety.
I love that. So I want to shift gears a little from physical comfort to physiological wellness.
Let's do it.
Because there are some really complex mechanisms happening under the hood that we need to understand. Let's talk about light therapy.
Oh, this is a fascinating area.
It really is. In the reading, the term lux comes up constantly. And before we get into the products, I want to make sure I actually understand the jargon here. Is lux just like a brand or a brightness setting?
It's actually a measurement of light intensity. Technically, it's how much luminous flux is spread over a given area.
Okay, but let's ground that in reality. What does that actually feel like?
Okay, imagine stepping outside on a perfectly clear, crisp summer morning.
Okay.
The sun hits your face, and your brain immediately just wakes up. That natural, intense brightness is what lux measures. So 10,000 lux is essentially capturing a slice of that bright summer morning light and bringing it indoors.
Oh, I like that analogy. So why is that specific slice of summer morning necessary? I initially misunderstood this and thought it was just about, making a room feel less gloomy.
No, it's deeply biological. See, as the eye ages, the pupil actually decreases in size, and the lens thickens and kind of yellows.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, which means significantly less natural light actually reaches the retina.
So they're physically getting less light into their brain.
Exactly. And when you combine that with the darker winter months, the brain's internal clock, the suprachiasmatic nucleus, gets totally confused.
Right.
It starts thinking it is constantly dusk. So it fails to shut off melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, and it fails to produce enough serotonin.
That explains so much. That is why you see older men physically sag, lose their energy, and experience those huge mood drops in the winter.
Precisely. Their brain is starved for the light signal that tells it to be awake.
That makes perfect sense. It isn't just the winter blues. His brain literally thinks it is time to hibernate.
Yes.
So how do we deliver that 10,000 lux signal safely?
With a UV-free light box. It's super simple. He just sits near it for 20 to 30 minutes in the morning while drinking his coffee.
That's it.
That's it. The light enters the eyes and manually resets that circadian rhythm. And what's great is that professional medical groups, including the American Academy of Family Physicians, provide excellent plain language summaries on this.
Which is such a good resource.
It is. Sharing a link to one of those articles from the senior techie is a great way to say, hey, read this science and see what you think, rather than saying, I think you are depressed.
Right, you take the judgment totally out of it. And it's passive, too, which fits our low-friction rule. Speaking of passive, another stealthy relief tool mentioned is for the guy who claims he just slept funny to explain away his chronic neck pain.
Ah, yes. The Zillion Shiatsu back and neck massager.
Right, specifically the ZMA-13 model. It is just this compact, unassuming black pillow.
But it has those deep kneading massage nodes and heat.
Yeah.
And he can just tuck it behind his neck right in that chair we just upgraded.
Perfect stuff.
Mm.
And, speaking of physiological breakdowns, we absolutely must address hydration. This is one of the most vital insights in the source material for me.
Let's break down how that happens, because honestly, it blew my mind.
It's wide.
When an older man says, I just forgot to drink water, I always thought it was an excuse. Like, how do you forget to drink water? But his dashboard is actually broken.
It is. It's a two-part failure in the body. First, the sensors in the bloodstream that detect when blood volume is dropping, they're called osmoreceptors, they become much less sensitive as we age. And simultaneously, aging kidneys lose some of their ability to concentrate urine, which means the body is actually losing water faster.
Oh, man.
But because those sensors are dulled, the brain never sounds the alarm. He's not being stubborn. He genuinely does not feel thirsty.
So telling him to drink more water is as useless as telling someone to feel more full.
Exactly.
If the signal is broken, we have to make the physical act of drinking entirely frictionless. I mean, if he has arthritis, struggling with a tight plastic bottle cap is a barrier.
Right. This is too much work.
So we need easy-use bottles. The sources suggest things like the Contigo Auto Spout with its pop-up straw, or a Hydro Flask with a straw lid. If the bottle is just sitting right next to him and requires zero effort to open, he will passively sip from it.
Frictionless is the key word there. And that actually transitions us perfectly into the second major hurdle.
The environment.
Right. We have solved the physical aches, but what happens when the house itself turns hostile?
Yes. The technology and the daily hazards. Let's tackle the tech jargon first. Please, because buying an older person a screen usually ends in disaster.
It really does.
The sources use terms like front lighting for e-readers, and I always assumed staring at a Kindle was just as bad for your eyes as staring at an iPad or a computer screen.
It's actually a fundamentally different delivery system. So a standard tablet or phone uses backlighting.
Okay, give me an analogy here.
Imagine holding a flashlight and shining it aggressively, straight out, right into your eyes.
Okay, that sounds awful.
That is what an iPad does. It shoots light through the screen directly into your retina, which causes massive eye strain over time.
Got it.
Front lighting, however, involves these microscopic LEDs embedded in the bezel of the device, and they shine light evenly down across the surface of the screen.
Oh, I see. So it's like having a tiny, perfectly angled reading lamp pointing at a piece of paper rather than a headlight shining in your face.
Exactly. That is a perfect way to picture it. For older eyes that are already prone to fatigue, front lighting on something like the Kindle Paperwhite allows for hours of glare-free reading.
Plus, the ability to exponentially increase the font size gives them back access to books they may have just completely given up on.
Right. It's restoring that autonomy.
Now, the other term that kept coming up was HD displays, or high-definition screens. The cliche is always to compare it to looking through a clean glass window versus a dirty screen door.
Right.
But the research points to something far more biological happening in the eye itself that makes HD necessary.
Yes, it's not just about the picture looking prettier for them. We talked earlier about how the aging lens of the eye thickens in yellows.
Right.
Well, that clouding actually causes incoming light to scatter inside the eye. And that creates this constant low-level blur and a really severe sensitivity to glare.
Wow, so their vision is actively scattering the light.
Exactly. So a high-definition display, like on the Fire HD tablet, provides incredibly sharp, hard-edged contrast between the text and the background.
Oh, so it cuts through the scatter.
Yes. It physically cuts through that scatter, making video calls and reading emails vastly easier to process visually.
That is fascinating. And then there's the smart speaker. Getting an older man to use voice commands feels impossible until you change the analogy.
Yeah. How do you frame that for them?
The old-fashioned telephone switchboard operator.
Oh, I love that.
Right. Because back in the day, you did not need to understand how copper wires connected across the state.
No, you just picked up the receiver.
Exactly. You picked it up, spoke out loud to the operator and said, "Connect me to the pharmacy." A smart speaker, like an Echo Dot or a Google Nest Audio, is literally just a digital operator.
That's brilliant.
You don't need to know how the internet works. You just ask out loud for a timer or the weather or a radio station, and it patches you through.
That completely removes all the intimidation.
Yeah.
And, for visual joy, you could apply that exact same frictionless approach with the Aura Carver 10-inch digital frame.
Yes. I found this so fascinating because it requires zero input from the senior.
None at all.
You just set up the digital frame in his living room once. Then, the rest of the family downloads an app on their own phones, and they can send high-definition photos directly to his frame from anywhere in the world.
It's magic to them.
He does not have to check an email, swipe a screen, or learn a single new skill. The grandkids just magically appear in his living room.
Now, obviously, when we introduce internet-connected devices, we really have to acknowledge the very real, very valid anxiety older adults have about privacy and tech scams.
Oh, absolutely. You cannot just dismiss their fears.
No. But you also do not have to argue with them about it. Government consumer protection sites like the CDC and others publish these great plain language guides on tech safety for seniors.
Which is such a good tool to have in your back pocket.
Print those out. Let the experts ease their fears so you don't have to be the one defending the technology.
Speaking of things that cause anxiety, we need to talk about the single greatest point of daily friction in any senior's home.
Let me guess. The television remote control.
You guessed it. The cognitive load of a modern remote is just staggering. Why are we handing an 80-year-old a wand with 60 tiny black buttons when they only use 3 of them?
It literally guarantees failure.
It really does. One accidental press of the source or input button, and the television turns to static.
And then they feel incompetent.
Exactly. And it usually results in a really frustrating phone call to a family member to come fix it.
The sources highlight the flipper, big button universal remote as the absolute antidote to this.
Yes, the flipper.
It removes the cognitive load entirely. It only features the essential functions: power, volume, and channel.
And the buttons are massive, right?
Massive and brightly color-coded. And most importantly, it hides or removes the buttons that cause the television to switch inputs. It cures the problem by simply eliminating the hazard.
Eliminating hazards is a perfect pivot to environmental safety because nighttime bathroom trips are the highest risk moments for falls.
Oh, without a doubt, you are dealing with waking grogginess, poor lighting, and urgency.
But installing bright overhead lights ruins sleep.
Right. So the solution here is the Get Up in the Night Light LED motion sensors.
Tell me about those.
They are battery-powered, and they just stick right to the baseboards. They softly illuminate the path to the bathroom the moment his feet hit the floor.
Oh, so it eliminates the 2 a.m. guesswork.
Exactly. And once he actually reaches the bathroom, how do we provide stability without making the bathroom look like a hospital ward?
Right, because suction cup grab bars are notoriously dangerous.
Yeah, they fail all the time. And drilling into tile is a massive project.
The Vaughn-style clamp-on tub rails. That's the answer here. They clamp heavily onto the side of the tub, providing this rock-solid steel handhold for stepping in and out.
And they are sleek and unobtrusive.
But what if he rejects it?
If you are worried about him rejecting it, the sources recommend referencing reputable fall prevention guides from the Mayo Clinic or the CDC.
Ah, I see.
It shifts the dynamic entirely. It's no longer you nagging him. It's you implementing a strategy recommended by top physicians.
That is so smart. Okay, so we have upgraded his physical comfort, and we have stripped the friction out of his environment.
But
that leaves us with a critical vacuum. How does he actually spend his time?
yes, the armchair trap. I see this constantly.
It's so common. If a man is warm, safe, and has a working TV remote, he will often just default to watching 24-hour news or sports reruns all day long.
It's what researchers call the shrinking world phenomenon. As physical mobility decreases, the radius of their world just tightens.
Right.
The television becomes a surrogate for actual engagement. They watch the news on a loop not because they are deeply invested in it, but because nobody has handed them a better, low-friction alternative.
But wait, if I walk in and just hand an 80-year-old man a hobby kit, isn't that incredibly patronizing? It feels like assigning a child homework to keep them busy.
Well, that is the difference between forcing them to learn a complex new skill versus offering low-stakes tactile engagement. You lean into familiar rituals.
Well, what's an example of that?
If he used to enjoy the daily paper, you bring that ritual back, but without the eye strain. The AARP large print crosswords are brilliant for this.
Oh, because the font is bigger.
The spiral binding lays flat, the print is massive, and this is key. The clues actually resonate with his generation's historical knowledge.
Oh, that makes a huge difference. And for working with his hands, the research emphasizes low-pressure creation.
Right.
Like beginner wood carving kits that come with pre-cut basswood and safety gloves, or larger piece model kits of classic cars.
The psychology here is about providing a sense of agency and completion.
Right. They are engaging their spatial reasoning and hand-eye coordination without the anxiety of trying to produce a masterpiece.
It breaks the passive consumption cycle. They are doing something, not just watching something.
Absolutely. And there is one more psychological hack in the sources that I found absolutely fascinating. If you are still hitting a wall of stubbornness, you use nostalgia.
Nostalgia is incredibly powerful.
It cuts right through that "I don't need anything" armor.
Why do you think it's so effective?
Well, because nostalgia connects them to an era when they were at the peak of their agency, when they felt the most vibrant, the most capable, and the most in control of their lives.
That makes perfect sense.
So instead of buying another gadget, you track down official MLB Classic Games DVD sets from 30 years ago, or like best of the 50s and 60s music collections.
Oh, they love that.
When researchers actually poll seniors, they desire these nostalgic touchstones far more than they want another sweater or a world's best grandpa mug. It feeds their identity.
It really does. Wow, we have covered an immense amount of ground today.
We really have.
To make this actionable, let's synthesize these solutions into 3 distinct profiles. That way, the listener knows exactly where to start.
Let's do it. Profile 1. If the man in your life is always cold, complaining of aches, or struggling with his mobility,
Okay.
you lean entirely towards stealth physical comfort, the Buterist heated throw, the Silvert's non-slip wide slippers, the everlasting comfort ergonomic cushion for his recliner, or the Zillion shiatsu massager.
Perfect. Profile 2. If he is physically independent but getting increasingly frustrated with his daily tasks or modern devices.
Yep.
You choose the friction removers, the flipper big button remote, the motion sensor night lights, a smart speaker for hands-free assistance, or an easy-to-open straw-lid water bottle to combat that failing thirst mechanism.
And profile 3, if he seems bored, disconnected, or is falling into the armchair trap of watching the news all day,
Right.
you go for the engagement tools. The Aura digital frame to passively bring the family to him, the AARP crosswords, the low-pressure hobby kits, or those nostalgic sports and music collections.
And please keep those vital external resources ready. Have a fall prevention guide from the Mayo Clinic printed out, and bookmark a mainstream tech help site like Apple Support to ease the setup anxiety for any digital devices.
And again, you can find links to all these specific products, the articles, and those medical resources directly on the Senior Techie.
You know, I want to leave you with a thought that kind of challenges our own motives in this whole process.
Okay, I'm listening.
We spend all this time analyzing why older men are stubborn about receiving gifts, but we rarely examine why we are so desperate to buy them.
Oh, that's a good point.
Often our frustration isn't really about finding the right pair of slippers or the right remote control. Our frantic gift buying is frequently a way to soothe our own anxiety about their decline.
Wow.
We buy safety gadgets because we are terrified of them falling. We buy them digital frames because we feel guilty that we don't visit enough.
That is a tough pill to swallow, but it's so true.
So the next time you are standing in that living room holding a box and facing that stubborn resistance, ask yourself, am I buying this to quietly restore a piece of his autonomy, or am I just trying to purchase my own peace of mind?
This podcast was brought to you by This Senior Techie. It's available on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. If you'd like to receive their free newsletters, you can subscribe at subscribe.theseniortechie.com.